Hey guys, how's it going? This is Nate English from EnglishEndurance.com, trying to help you get more out of your endurance sports training and racing, whether that's running or cycling or a triathlon. And today I wanted to talk briefly about the off season and what to do during the off season. So this is going to be 5 basic things to do when you're taking a break during the fall and winter months. In this video, I just want to briefly touch on these 5 topics, but I'll probably go over each of them in a little bit more depth in other videos and articles on my site. But let's just go over it briefly right now. So the first thing you want to do during the off season is to just take a break. Taking a break is a good thing. It's good to take a step back from hard structured training and racing. We'll tone down the training volume, tone down the intensity a little bit, maybe work on some other things that we want to be doing, or start working on, strength that maybe we neglected a little bit during the peak part of our season. And that's great. That's worth doing, and it's good to get that mental and physical break. And even if you enjoy training, and personally I really enjoy, riding and running and staying active throughout the year, I think that it's okay to keep at it and to stay very active throughout the year, but just, listen to your body throughout the year, but especially during the off season. Try to make sure that you can tell that you're pretty fresh and that you're well recovered. And even if you have fun, maybe doing a fast group ride or doing a hard workout here or there, make sure that most of your winter or like most of the early off season is pretty chill, and that you are very fresh and motivated when you start thinking about getting into structured training again. The next thing that we can do during the off season is to take a look back at our previous year and to kind of assess, how we did and what worked for us and what didn't work. I think it's really good to look kind of objectively at how your performances were and see how you did this year compared to last year, and see maybe where you made progress, and also take a look at where you didn't make progress, or where you maybe even saw a deterioration of performance from past years. Take a look at the races that you did or the events that you did and see what your strengths were and see where you did well, but also take a look at maybe the races where you didn't do very well, and try to take a look at whether or not there were things that you could have done differently in training, or things that you could have done differently, mentally and tactically, that would have allowed you to perform better. I think that it's really key to learn from the things that work for us and keep doing those things, or to maybe tweak them a little bit to kind of allow our progression to continue. And I think it's really good to look at the things that we didn't do well and see if maybe just a little bit of a change might fill in a big hole in our fitness that prevented us from doing well. A lot of times we don't really want to think about the things that didn't go as well, because it's not as much fun thinking about the failures that we had or what have you. But a lot of times those are the best opportunities that we have for seeing what didn't work well, and then seeing considering what we could have done differently. I think sometimes it can be challenging looking at our own training. So I would definitely encourage you to reach out to a friend, or you could reach out to a coach if you wanted to have an experienced and knowledgeable person, take a look at your training, take a look at maybe your performances this year compared to years past, and offer you some insights into what little things or big things you could change for the coming year. And even if you don't want to develop a full-time coaching relationship, there's plenty of coaches out there who would probably be interested in doing consulting work for you. They could look over your data and talk to you about your training, and then give you some insights into what they might suggest could make you a better athlete. That's something that I've done a lot with a number of athletes over the years. And even if we don't, go on to have an ongoing coaching relationship, I think a lot of times just those, few insights that we might have can help them to become better athletes, just from changing a couple of key things about their training by doing this type of interval instead of that interval, or getting a little bit more or a little bit less volume. Sometimes small changes can be very helpful, and sometimes getting somebody else's perspective can really help you have a better handle on what's going to be useful for you. So after we've started taking a break, and maybe we have a little bit of extra time, and we've done kind of an assessment of how our previous year was, I think it's really good to take a look at what we want to accomplish next year. And maybe we want to set some goals for how we want to improve, or certain races that we want to do well at. And you don't necessarily need to come up with like very specific goals right away. You might just be thinking about it in the back of your head, and you might kind of nail down specific goals down the line. But at the very least, you want to start coming up with a particular direction. So, maybe you want to get better endurance, and you're not specifically sure that you want to, do a certain race or a certain century ride or whatever it is, but you know that that's something you want to work on. That's great. You could at least start with that and then maybe come up with more specific goals later. The fourth thing we want to do is we want to come up with some sort of a plan for how we're going to try to move in that direction and try to accomplish those goals. Start developing a plan early. It doesn't need to be super detailed, but you don't want to go through all of November and December and January and just kind of do what you've done in the past without thinking about it and seeing whether or not that's actually going to move you in the right direction that you want to be moving in. So if you want to, for example, become a better sprinter, maybe you should consider whether or not you want to start going to the gym in October or November, or maybe you want to become a better climber and you need to build up better strength and endurance to work up to that. So maybe you should start kind of developing a strategy to get more miles in and get more climbing time in, and work in the right direction that's going to help you to accomplish your goal for the coming year. If you have pretty specific goals, or if you're the type of person that really likes a detailed plan, you can definitely go ahead this time of year, October, November, and start making out a very detailed plan for the whole year, or at least a detailed plan for the next several months that takes you up to maybe the start of competition, so you know exactly what workout you're going to be doing on January 12th and exactly what kind of power you're going to try to shoot for particular workouts throughout the next 3 or 4 months. A lot of times you don't necessarily know exactly how your body's going to respond to your training, because from year to year that changes and everyone is different. So you might see faster or slower progress, and it's good to have a little bit of flexibility kind of incorporated into your training plan so that you feel free to adjust things a little bit as you go along. Just consider what's going to be the most useful for you and try to come up with a strategy that's in line with your personality and your schedule and what's going to actually, help you get closer to your goals. Because that's, kind of ultimately what we're trying to go for, is just to get the most out of our training and get the most out of our racing. And having goals or a direction that we want to progress is great, but then having some sort of actionable plan that we can try to implement in order to move towards those goals is ultimately what we'd want to be going for. You might consider asking somebody who has experience or asking a coach to help you to develop your plan for the coming year. Oftentimes having a coach just give you workouts to do, or just having somebody that you can talk to and get a second set of eyes on your training plan can be very useful. And aside from making a plan for training, definitely consider other aspects of your life that you might or might not want to make adjustments to in order to try to move towards your goals. Sometimes training is the thing that we focus on the most, and oftentimes after maybe a good bit of experience, we have a pretty good handle on what training is going to be effective for us. But maybe we can make small adjustments to our recovery and how much sleep we get, or what kind of diet we have. And sometimes those changes can make as much or more difference than changes we might make to our training. And the last thing we want to do, as always, is to just have fun. Hopefully endurance sports, whether it's running or cycling or triathlon, is fun for you, and most of your training sessions are really enjoyable. I mean, maybe sometimes they're very uncomfortable if they're hard workouts, but hopefully it's fun and you're always excited to go out and train, and hopefully you have good training buddies that you can get out and do some miles, and it's a lot of fun. Thanks very much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed that and that some of that was useful to you. I hope that you can enjoy the time off that you have this time of year and enjoy making plans for a successful season next year. And feel free to like this video and subscribe if you want to see more stuff like this. And definitely, email me or comment below if you have questions that you want me to address or topics you want me to cover. I really just want to put out material that is useful and interesting to you. But that's it for today, and I'll see you next time.